Welcome to Summer Sing Volunteer Training. My name is Josh DeVore.
My name is Rocky. It's so good to see you guys and excited for Summer Sing this year.
Here we go. For the first order of business today, I want to talk about what happens when you arrive on campus every Wednesday night for Summer Sing. At 6:30, we ask that all of our volunteers, as much as possible, arrive at 6:30. When you come to the GC Kids Resource Center and print out your tags. Then head over to the Horseshoe where the brand new playground is, and we're gonna have a quick 5-minute leader huddle. Now the huddle will be literally 5 minutes long, and if you could be right there at 6:40, that would be fantastic. We realize that some of you may have work schedules that conflict with that, and if that's the case, just come as soon as you can. Then the goal is that every volunteer would be in their classrooms ready to receive children at 6:45. This gives us a 15-minute window between 6:45 and 7 p.m. to receive all the kids and get the parents to their classes on time. Now you might be thinking to yourself, well, I'm gonna volunteer in the kindergarten class, but I have a 2-year-old that needs to go to his class as well. What do I do with them? So if you have kids, we ask that you take them with you inside your classroom until 7:05. So if you're a volunteer with 3 different ages of kids, but you're serving in the kindergarten class, all of your kids go to the kindergarten class with you. And then at 7:05, the crazy check-in will settle down. All of the classrooms will be open and set to go, so then parents who are volunteering can slip out of their kindergarten class, drop off their 2 or 3 kids at the different age-specific classes, and then run right back to their class to keep going. The reason we do this is because we can't guarantee everyone's gonna show up on time, and we just wanna make sure that all the classes are open before we try to check in volunteer kids. And next up is rotation schedules. So for rotation schedules, we have 2 different rotation schedules. One is our elementary rotation schedule, and the second is our early childhood rotation schedule. We're actually gonna start with early childhood rotation schedule. You can see it up on the screen. Here, we will start with check-in at 6:50 p.m., 6:45, one of the 2. Early childhood, it ranges from 0, which would be infants, all the way through 5 years old. The reality is the nursery doesn't need a rotation schedule. They're gonna run through all the things they need to do. So really this early childhood rotation schedule starts from 2 years old through 5 years old. They will check in to their classrooms, put their stickers on the door, and then kids will be welcomed into the class, and during check-in, they can play at one of the activity stations laid out for them. There will be Legos and cars and magnetic tiles, things for them to enjoy. At 7:05, most of the kids will be checked in. This is also the time where a volunteer who has kids of different ages can run over and check their 2-year-old into a different class or whatnot. But what we want to start every morning with every evening with is what we call a classroom huddle. So we put all of the toys away, we reset the class, and at 7:05, all the kids sit on the floor for some instructions from their teacher. So we clean the classroom, and we do something called rules and responses charts. Rules and responses are very important because we can't expect anything of the kids in obedience if we don't tell them what we expect in advance. So we go over their charts, and then if they disobey later in the day, they know exactly what's gonna happen and what the responses will be. Then, that will only take about 5 minutes. At 7:10, everyone goes outside. We'll go out onto the playground, the kids will enjoy, and it's gonna be summertime. The weather's gonna be nice, the playground is awesome, the kids will have a great time. Following outside time will be snack in their age-specific classrooms. So you'll go from the playground back to your classroom, and your coordinators will provide you snack. This will take about 10 minutes, and you can ask the kids during snack, what's your favorite thing that you've done today? And just have some good interaction with them. Next up at 7:50 will be our Bible lesson. Bible lesson will be, the lesson will be provided to all the classrooms. We love our Bible lesson this year because it comes from a big flip chart. So one side of the flip chart is a big picture for the whole class to see, and on the back side are all of the words for reading the lesson of that day. Our lessons are super simple and they're straightforward so that you don't have to prepare a bunch of it in advance, but you can literally just show up and read the lesson for that day. And then we love it to take some time to pray for the kids. Next up would be a group activity. You can put the activity toys back out. There will be coloring pages provided and maybe even a craft for that week. And so that's what we'll do for activity time at 8:05. And before you know it, parents are already coming to pick up. During pickup, this is what we do. As kids pick up, we start to clean the room. And we'll even give kids brooms and paper towels to wipe down the tables. And we start to put away toys. So that way, if you start with 20 kids in your class, but as you get down to 5 kids left, the room is starting to get organized. And by the time those last 5 kids leave, you don't have to stay for another 10 minutes to clean a room. It's pretty much already done. And at that point, parents pick up between 8:30 and 8:45, and then you can hit the road. We want you to be out of here every night you serve by 8:45 so you can get your own kids home as fast as possible. The last thing I'm going to talk about before I hand it over to Rocky is the difference of the early childhood schedule to the elementary schedule. For the elementary schedule, check-in is the same. They check into their classrooms, there's activity toys laid out. 7:05, you do a classroom huddle. You clean the classroom, sit the kids down, explain the rules and responses. The next thing, exactly the same. You go outside to the playground. Instead of going to the early childhood brand new playground that was just created, there is the elementary playground, and you'll be able to see that on the campus map in just a minute. But then next, because it's summer sing, we want the kids to worship. We want the kids to practice for the end musical at the end of the year. And so we will go to the early childhood playground, the brand new playground, and Amy Weiser will lead the choir rehearsal time. As a volunteer, you can just stand on the outside of the kids that are all practicing their choir songs and just make sure they're paying attention. If little Joey runs off to the side, you can bring him back in and make sure he stays part of the group. And then, excuse me, and then following choir rehearsal, all of the elementary kids will stay out on that lawn, and one person will teach all of the elementary grades their lesson for that day. There will be a designated teacher each week, and that'll be communicated through Amy Weiser. Last, the whole night is done. We do pickup, and during pickup, we have activity toys out in the classroom. Same thing, little by little as the kids get picked up and the class is dwindling, we're having kids sweep the floor, wipe down the table, consolidate the toys, and then at 8:45, everybody goes home. That's rotation schedules. And next up, we will be learning about, I've got it right here, campus map.
Hey GC family, so we have our campus map now, as you can see. So it would just be like a regular day when you come into the GC Kids Resource Center where you can get your volunteer tag as well as your kids. As you come in, you'll go across to the horseshoe. And as you can see in purple, we have our early childhood classes. That also corresponds with their playground where they'll be at. As well for elementary, it's coordinated in blue, as you can see. If you have any questions in regards to it, just contact your coordinators or myself or Pastor Josh.
All right, now we'd like to go through something we call our GC Kids Success Guide. And really what they are is 7 things over the years that we've noticed. If we communicate these things to you, you're gonna have a really smooth night. It starts with drop off and pickup. Before and at the end of every class, one volunteer must always stand at the check-in table to welcome families at the door to ensure parents and children are accounted for. What this is for is so that we can make sure parents put the sticker of their kid's tag on the check-in sheet for us to account for later, and that they have one on them so we can call them by name throughout the day. This is an expression of hospitality and security essential to the ministry and our families. Families really make a decision on whether or not their kids are going to be safe in the first 15 seconds they drop off. In the first 15 seconds, they know, have I been welcomed? Has my child been greeted? And we want all of that to go as smoothly as possible. Second thing, also very important, is bathroom breaks. Kindergarten through 6th grade children do not require bathroom assistance. If you are playing on the playground, ask elementary kids to find a bathroom buddy, and then walk the 2 kids to the restroom. Now we have 3 people walking towards the restroom. There's more accountability. 2 kids, 1 adult. And stand outside of the door. What's really nice is all of our bathrooms are in public spaces in view of all the other volunteers. So yes, one volunteer is walking their kids over to the restroom, but the restroom is in sight of everyone else in the classroom. They're just taking care of that. And then if you are working with younger children, which would be infants through preschoolers, there are needs to use the restroom, and a woman should assist the children from the doorway of the bathroom with their own body visible to the other volunteers in the classroom. Always keep the door open when assisting a child in the restroom. And the way that you'll give that child privacy is not by closing the door, you'll leave the door open, but your body will block what's taking place in the restroom so that you can help that child and keep it private, but also hold yourself accountable with the rest of the leaders in the room to see you in full sight. The third thing is shared space. Classrooms are shared space with our fantastic Desert Christian preschool teachers. We want to show them our appreciation for what they do by training our classes to treat everything with respect. Always leave your classroom better than you found it. And the way we do that most succinctly is taking care of the tables, wiping them down, the toys, putting them away, and the floors by sweeping them. The fourth thing on our list is sticking with your class. During class, you may realize you need something. Stand at your classroom doorway and text or call your coordinator. We are ready to support you, but do not leave your classroom. Call your coordinator and they will come as quickly as possible. Amy Weiser is our elementary coordinator for the classes in blue that we listed earlier, and Chesney Zico is our early childhood coordinator. The fifth thing on our list is serving in pairs of 2. Never allow yourself to be alone in a room with a child. It's not safe for you and it's not safe for the child. We want to be above reproach and always accountable for our actions. 1, if you find yourself in a situation where parents are trying to check in their kids and you're the only volunteer in the classroom, then ask a parent to temporarily stay in the room with you while you contact your coordinator for support. Or second, prop your classroom door open. If you find yourself in the middle of the night by yourself with kids, prop the door of the classroom open, stand in the doorway and immediately call your coordinator for them to come and support you. Or ask your class to stand outside the door along the wall in a single file line until you have support. There isn't a case where that should ever be needed, but if you do, you are far better off pausing the class, putting all the kids outside until you have support than trying to run the classroom by yourself. Okay, 2 left, rules and responses. We expect kids to obey because we teach them how to succeed. Every class should begin by refreshing the class on our rules and responses. New kids are always visiting, and repetition is a powerful tool. Children cannot be held accountable for poorly communicated expectations. And that's why, even if it feels like we've talked about rules and responses all year long, every single class needs to begin with them. And what we've noticed is when we share what the rules and expectations are, the kids are way better off throughout the rest of the day. The last thing, crazy moments, number 7. Crazy moments should be short and rare. We are a ministry designed to impact hearts, not juggle chaos. The most important portion of the class is during the 15-minute drop-off at the beginning and the 15-minute pickup at the end. These are the times it can feel the craziest. The expectation is that children will be sitting and engaged with their teacher or an activity toy when parents are arriving for drop-off or pickup. Work hard to ensure that running around and yelling is not the activity that parents are dropping off to or picking up from. 10 seconds is all the parents can see, so let's make those 10 seconds ensure them that their children are being loved and cherished, and they're not in a chaotic environment. All right, I'm gonna hand it over to Rocky.
Hey everyone, it's just so good to see you again. Thank you so much for volunteering. Thank you so much for putting in your time and your effort and pouring in God's perfect word into the next generation. And thank you so much for being Christ-like role models to our GC kids. On behalf of the Grace Chapel family, as well as the staff, we wanted to thank you for blessing us so much. And this year, we have some awesome GC Kids t-shirts that you will be able to pick up on the first night. Also, as well, what we're gonna have you do is do a children's ministry application in blue, as you can see. And then fingerprinting. Our fingerprinting will be here on June 5th from 12:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. in the Resource Center, as well as on June 8th, 7 to 8 p.m. in our Resource Center. So here at Grace Chapel, we not only want to make sure we have a safe place spiritually for God's perfect word, but a safe place physically. Now we know emergencies do happen, and we do have emergency response guidelines in case that does. Now, in case of a life-threatening emergency, please call 911. For anything else, then call your GC coordinators and then the pastoral staff, Pastor Josh or myself. Now, for any basic scratches, bruises, and so forth, we do have first aid kits located in the GC Kids Resource Center desk, top right, as well as in the horseshoe. Now, let's go over our emergency response guidelines. For fire, earthquake, as well as life-threatening events. For fire, volunteers will grab the sign-in sheets if safely available. Leave the classroom and proceed to the elementary playground. Count children and wait for further instruction from pastoral staff, coordinators, or emergency personnel. Now, in case of an earthquake, volunteers instruct children to shelter under appropriate safe objects, such as a desk, and to stay away from windows. After shaking has stopped, prepare to safely leave the classroom. Volunteers grab sign-in sheets, if safely available as well. Now, leave the classroom and proceed to the elementary playground, count children, and wait for further instruction from pastoral staff, coordinators, or emergency personnel. Now, unfortunately today, we do live in a society when we need lockdown procedures. That is in case of a threatening event or an active shooter. Volunteers, lock your doors and then instruct children to seek shelter away from windows. If safely available, proceed to the kitchen between classrooms for their safety. Do not open the door. I repeat, do not open the door for any person other than your pastoral staff, coordinators, or emergency personnel. Wait for further instruction.
Thank you so much for taking the time, Rocky, to share with us our emergency responses. It's really tough that we even have to share those or have those in place, but I'm so thankful that our church family is getting a children's director who has experience in the medical field, and he can make informed decisions about how we need to respond when the world gets a little bit crazy. The reality is, though, we rely on the Lord for our comfort and for our safety. And so at the end of the day, we are praying that the Lord would protect the kids of our church family. And we are not praying without the due diligence of making sure we have a response, but we do not pray in fear of the world around us, but we trust our Lord and Savior. So, thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh, thank you. Well, Pastor Josh, our volunteers probably know when we will see them next.
That's true. Okay, so we should probably tell them where they're coming next. On Wednesday, June 8th is our first night of Summer Sing. It's coming up real fast. Arrive at 6:30 p.m., print out your tags in the Resource Center, and then meet us in the Horseshoe at 6:40.
Yes.
And that'll be for our group huddle, and then we'll go to our classes.
Yes. Thank you so much for putting in your time and effort, pouring God's perfect word and love and character into the GC kids, into our next generation. And we are so looking forward to a time of worship, a time of prayer, and a time in God's word, pushing Jesus's kingdom further.
I could not agree more. Thank you for your time today. We will see you soon.